Shaun Webb here, along with my good friend and teaching partner in athletic motion golf, Mike Granato. And today we're going to talk about something that a lot of golfers struggle with, is how to set the wrist correctly in the backswing, right?
Right. Wrist angles are very confusing, or they can be very confusing. And do you cock them? Do you fold them? Do you extend them? When do you do it all? And we're going to kind of discuss that in today's video and hopefully clear up some of the confusion and have you guys setting these wrists better so you can deliver the club a lot better. All right, Shaun, let's talk about really how the wrists need to move, and then we'll discuss some of the ways that kind of goes sideways for some golfers.
Yeah, so let's just, for all intents and purposes of this video, have a fairly neutral grip.
Right.
We like neutral grips. I feel like it's a little bit easier to manage the club face that way. Maybe just neutral to slightly strong. So let's start with that, and we've got a lot of videos out there about that.
Sure.
So this video is about how to set the wrists on the backswing. There is a lot of confusion. I think part of the confusion lies because at address we already have some wrist set, and golfers, I think, more than not think they need more than they absolutely need, right?
Right.
So a lot of golfers are taking the club back and overhinging their wrists. I think that's kind of pitfall number one. So let's talk about a little bit how each individual wrist moves in the backswing and how we can use that to help get a more pure strike.
Perfect.
So at address, we've got, if you had no wrist set, you'd be straight like this, and we don't want you to set up like that, right? You're gonna have a little bit of angle at address. I think the first thing you need to know, let's start with the left wrist. All you're trying to do on the backswing is make a fist with your left hand. And that's a very simple concept for people. If they make a fist with their left hand, that gives them just enough wrist set at the top of the swing to have enough lag on the downswing, right?
So at address, there's gonna be some downward wrist cock, we'll say, right? When you're holding the club, get the grip on there. And then right away, you wanna kind of go to this fist attitude, right? So that'd be a really weak punch. If I was to throw a punch like that, that's more of a stronger punch. And that's kind of where we're moving to very early in the backswing.
Yeah, Mike's right. You know, at address, the way your wrist is set, you wouldn't take that angle to the top.
Right.
You'd have a little bit of set, but it's not as much as you would think. So in order to see that the right way, if this was my setup, the maximum amount of left wrist hinge should be about right there, just level to the ground.
Yeah, not very much to get back to neutral there.
Now, when I do that, I did it at a little bit of a 45 because that flattens out the left wrist a little. So a good way to train your left wrist action in the backswing is just to cock it at a 45 degree away from you so it's level to the ground. If you took that up to the top, that would be pretty much absolutely perfect left wrist position.
Very early in the swing.
Yeah, it happens early. I like to get some of that out of the way early so the last part of the swing is just rotation and a little bit more arm swing. So that gives us the left wrist motion, right? The right wrist motion, I think this is where people get into the most trouble because I feel like they have a little more strength in the right wrist.
Right.
So they can have too much radial or too much hinging of the wrist in an upward direction. And when they do that, it affects the left wrist and cups it too much.
Right, and especially with how you put your hands on the club, if I really cock up this right wrist and put my left wrist on it, so if I take my right wrist first, cock it up, put my left wrist on it in the same grip, I now have a lot of cup in this wrist very early in the swing.
Yeah, so a good way to feel the right motion in the backswing is just to swing your right hand up and bend your right wrist back on itself. By the time you get to the top of the swing, you want this left wrist almost
right wrist,
sorry, bend back almost at a 90 degree if you have that kind of range of movement, but you don't want the thumb pointed at you. Point the thumb of the hand almost like if you were going to bend your arm up to hold a tray and you were to bend forward, obviously the tray would slide off, but that's the position you would want it. You wouldn't put your hand in any of these awkward rotated positions. So if I was just going to stand up tall, hold my hand like I was holding a tray, turn and bend over at to the top of the backswing, there's a position you'd want to be with your right wrist. And again, you haven't overly hinged it going up. So by the time you reach the top, right wrist bent back, left wrist in the fist, that puts you in the A1 position to come down, have enough lag, square the face, and get a pure strike.
That's exactly right. How we set the wrist, and really when we set the wrist, really determines a lot of what we have to do or undo in that really small window of the downswing. And we can go back and we can try to keep these, and there's certainly some players on the professional level that have a little wrist set earlier, but they've got a tremendous amount of rotation to go with it, and they keep width. We see so many AMs when they do this. They'll get up here and then it's a fold, and then you get the cast, and then you get all that undoing. Or very little wrist set, wrap it around them, then lift, then get all that. So really getting the club pitched up on plane. We hear Scott talk about it all the time. You got to pitch this club up on plane, because that elbow plane runs at an angle. You want to get these things on there pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think a good benchmark, try to have most of your wrist hinge done by the time the left arm gets parallel to the ground, right? Like we like to talk about being able to hit a shot from almost anywhere. If you were to swing back and your wrists are fairly set by the time the left arm gets parallel to the ground, I could hit a shot from there, right?
That's right. That's a great point. That's really the benefit of being on plane early, is you can change directions anywhere in this backswing and hit a relatively pretty darn straight shot. And that's golf. A lot of off-speed shots, a lot of three-quarter shots. If I get to this kind of left arm parallel and my wrist cock hasn't really kicked in, or my wrist set hasn't kicked in, I've got nothing to come in downswing. I've got to kind of use this extra slop or runoff upstairs to kind of help me hit just a three-quarter shot.
Absolutely. So that gives us what the wrists are supposed to be doing. We're going to come back here and then show you a couple drills to incorporate it into your game.
Awesome. All right, Shaun, let's talk about 3 good drills here where we can start to set the wrist not only earlier, but in a better way, and kind of get the angles right off the bat.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If we get them set a little, you don't have to immediately set them this way, but as the arms are swinging, you want to start getting things organized, right?
Right, and that's a great point. You can do any good thing in the golf swing, too little, too late, too much, or too little.
Yeah.
We're looking for that neutrality, that good timed movements of the golf swing. Absolutely.
And I think for some people, just the way the hands are put together on the club, it gets a little heavy to get the club head up off the ground early, and if they've never felt it before, what I'll give them is a split grip drill. So take your hand and split them apart, maybe 3-4 inches on the club, set up to the ball, and then practice pulling on the right hand and pushing down on the left hand. And what you're going to see, that pops the club up a little earlier and lets your left arm move out just a little bit away from you. Get this thing up on the plane early, like Mike was saying, and having this split grip gives you a little more leverage to feel this club off the ground. The worst thing you can do is go low and slow, because now you have no wrist hinge, and that normally leads to a reverse over the top motion.
The body turning is great to get some depth and to get this plane that's moving on an angle, to get that club moving up and back, right? The arms are really good at getting the club moving up.
Yeah.
So it's mirroring those two, or marrying those two, easy for me to say, putting those two together so you get that combination and it comes up on that angle of the plane, rather than too much of this or certainly too much lift.
Yeah, so make your little split grip and just go to parallel to the ground. Feel a little pull up with the right, little push with the left with a little turn, and that usually will set the club in a pretty good spot, and just put your hands on it. That gives you a little more leverage with a split grip. Right,
and one key point when you're doing this in the mirror, and it's a great way to start learning how to do this with a split grip, is you want to avoid this. Of this right arm kind of pulling back behind you. That's a split grip. That's going to get you in trouble. You want to get it right here.
Yeah, get it up.
Pitched up. Exactly right.
Up on the plane. Okay, what else you got, Mike?
Another one we like to do, and we kind of alluded to it earlier in the video, is let's get our right hand, right palm, right wrist in a good spot. So just standing up, this is really easy for a lot of people to do. Kind of this waiter tray, not like this, nice and neutral. We're going to get right here in a good posture, good stance. Then we're going to take our left arm, we're going to get some motion in it, and we're going to swing it up right there, right to my right hand. Yep. We're going to catch it. You can see if I'm swinging this club, there's going to be very little incentive for me to kind of dead hand it, and it's going to be very heavy to get it up here, and it's not going to fit right. Absolutely. Nor is this going to you're going to kind of watch yourself in the head. So again, right here, stand up, bend over. Yeah, right there.
I love that drill.
And that's going to be a great way. And again, these are indoor drills. You can do these during commercials of your TV show, if anybody watches commercials anymore.
Yeah.
But you want a lot of reps of where this club gets to the top at and what kind of angles are created, because it makes the downswing so much easier when you do that.
I like that drill a lot. And then the last drill is going to be a preset drill.
Yeah.
So I alluded to earlier, the motion of the wrist. as you take it back, it's kind of at a 45, right? That bends the right wrist back and gives a little vertical, like radial hinge to the right wrist without over radial on the right or too much. So what you can do, just set it here, turn back, and then hit a ball. Just easy, right?
Again,
so,
tee it up nice and slow.
Yeah, if you hinge at a 45, you'd be, oh, that doesn't look right. It doesn't look like a normal golf swing, but watch, as I add rotation and arm swing, that club goes dead up the plane.
Right.
So that's kind of the 3D nature of the golf swing. You don't just set the club on plane. As I'm hinging up at kind of a 45-ish angle, rotating my arms and rotating my body, that's what gets the club up this elbow plane we always talk about to the top.
It's a great point. The arms, and this is again one of those illusions on camera that we see all the time. The arms, their job really isn't to get the club back here, right? Our job with the arms is to get the club up. The turn sets them right up here.
Yeah, we've done another video, right?
You're kind of doing that right here. My job here is to get the club up. Then my turn carries them where they need to be. A lot of folks are under the impression that they take the arm across the body and then it's magically going to happen in the downswing. It's not the case.
We call it like fishing for the position, right? You're here instead of, oh, it's more of a vertical hinge or an angled hinge as I rotate my body and let this left arm rotate a little. That puts it up on the elbow plane, finish, hit a shot. You're going to be amazed as you start blending these together on video how good your golf swing is going to look in this first part of the backswing. And if you can accomplish that with the wrist motion, the downswing is going to be a lot easier and you get that pure strike you're looking for.
Absolutely. I think we all kind of consider ourselves backswing teachers.
Yeah.
Because we make so many changes to backswings that really have a cool effect on the downswing that if you lock this stuff down very early in the swing, again, we're just dealing with 1 second. We get this 1 second started early, well, it finishes really strong.
Yeah. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did enjoy it, go ahead and give it a like. Also, if you have any questions about today's video or you have an idea of a video that you want us to shoot, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. We read every single comment. We also respond to the comments. So again, leave us a comment if you have any questions or there's anything you'd like to see. Now, if you haven't already, click the subscribe button. We have videos coming out every single week and we don't want you to miss one. So by clicking subscribe, that ensures you're notified right away when a new video comes out. And hey, if you want to add instant distance to your drive, and we all do, everybody wants more distance, go ahead and click the link in the pinned comment below. You're going to see a link. Click on it. It's going to take you to a page. You're going to enter your name and email address. We're going to send you an email where you're going to get access to instant distance, which is a video training that we put out. We know it's going to help you. We know we're going to see you farther down the fairway.